Hey guys, it is Brooke with the Junk Parlor. Welcome to my channel. You asked me for more decorating videos, so that is what I'm doing in today's video. I have more styling videos on my playlist called Styling, Staging, Vignettes, and Displays. I will warn you, but I do my best decorating fresh out of bed. So that means weekends in my PJs or drinking coffee after my morning workout. So crazy hair and no makeup is what you will see from me. I get an idea and I want to try it out and I turn the camera on. There's no getting ready here. There's also going to be a lot of voiceovers because 4 of us are in the house all day, every day. Hubby is an educator with most of the summer off and kids have practices and work, but for the most part, I'm never alone. This is just part of one of my summer refreshes. I've gotten a lot of new inventory in that I'm just not ready to part with. I've been hoarding it until I found or made the time to try it out. Because we all know that moving one little thing can snowball into rearranging the entire house. So be sure to check back as we will be tackling the rest of my main floor. Today's video focuses on hanging a mirror, hanging a chandelier, finding new homes for my deer and pronghorn mounts, and refreshing my mantle. I not only still had evergreen on my dining room table centerpiece, but I also had it on my mantle. It's June. The first thing I want to get up is this mirror. I'd had it for a while and I'd thought about where I wanted to put it and I had committed to this spot. I borrowed my neighbor's ladder and I already knew where the studs were because on the other side of this wall is a closet and I'd used the stud finder there to do a shelf for a future video. So I'd already been brainstorming how I was going to actually hang this mirror. I needed to know how heavy it was, so I just weighed it on our bathroom scale. And then I sent my husband to get the attachments. Now, there's already a chain on it, and they actually used 2 eyes to attach the chain to the mirror, so I feel like that's safe. They also had some weird S-hook hooking it together, which I didn't trust as much, so I ended up using some picture wire, and even though it's ugly, I just kind of threaded it through as reinforcements. And because the mirror was 50 pounds, I really only need 1 of these mounts to the wall, but I just felt like 2 would be more stable. And so we went ahead and put 2. Now, I watched a different YouTube video by This Old House. I used to watch that as a little girl growing up. And what they suggested when you're hanging something from 2 nails is to just go ahead and cut a board that is approximately how far apart you're going to put your nails. So I already had this board. It was just some scrap piece. And so I just decided, hey, that seemed like a good logical distance. And so that is what I used. And that just kind of gave me a guide. I found the center spot on the wall, and then I measured out from it to know where the nails were going to go. And there was really a lot of math involved into calculating all of this. But I did all of that calculating and studying and had everything marked and ready to go, the ladder in place, so that as soon as my husband came home, him, myself, and Cash, we could hang the mirror, and there was going to be less fighting and arguing if I had already done those details first. So then we got it hung up. Now, I was trying to strategically place it so that it was centered compared to those window trim pieces that I have lined up on the Homburg gray wall. So I wanted it to have about 2 inches above the mirror and 2 inches below the mirror and look centered on those, just because it's in the same space and your eye is going to be moving across them in the same way. Now, I did get just a little bit high, and I'm guessing it's just because of the tension on the chain when I was estimating my measurements. So last time I rearranged, I moved this mirror over to closer to the kitchen cabinets. I didn't really like it, so that got moved to Cash's room. He's happy. Now I need to find a new home for the pronghorn mount and the deer mount. So Matt just followed me around with the camera so that we could test them out in a few places. Sometimes I just have to see it, even though in my mind I might think that it's going to look okay, but I don't want to put a bunch of holes in my wall at the same time if I don't have to. And really, I'm so lucky that I moved that mirror because look at my drywall. I was using a hook and everything, but it was still coming out of the wall. So I saved myself from massive cleanup and possibly damage. I should also point out that we installed a storm door last week, I think it was, and I'm absolutely loving having my door open and having more light in. Now, I have this new clock and another clock that I got recently sitting in the basement, but now I need to figure out where I could put them. I'm not somebody that thinks you need something on every blank wall, but I really love these new paintings that I got, so I kind of would like to incorporate them. They're the perfect colors, but I'm just not sure. I think I might just leave this wall blank because the kids walk by it all the time, and like I said, I don't need something on every surface. Like I mentioned in the intro, I have evergreen still on my table and on my mantle. So on the table, I just cleared everything off. In our next video, we will restage this spot. I did, however, work on redecorating my mantle. Hubby is spending his Sunday morning staining the deck. So he's gonna do a first coat now and then another coat before we go to bed, but it's looking good. Hopefully you can see it through the dirty windows. While he is doing that, I am playing around with decor in the house. So this is where we put the kids' laundry. That doesn't look good. It's sticky. I wonder what the heck happened. Looks like paint almost. But we hung this mirror yesterday, and stupid me, I did not clean it before we hung it. So I'm gonna have to get the ladder and get that cleaned. But I am working on rearranging just little things here and there around the house. And the TV mantle area is what I'm working on now, trying to get away my winter greens because it's like the second weekend of June and I still have my evergreen stuff out. So we're gonna see how this looks on the mantle. Might be too tall. I don't know. I'm just struggling with some other nature things to fill in these trophy buckets. And I have tons of peacock feathers, so I thought that might do the trick. But I am weird and I do not like to cut the peacock feathers. So I just went down there and I got the shortest ones that I have in my pile. The rest of them are a lot taller than this. And we'll just see how it looks. So I know you're not seeing the entire space right now, but there is a lot of empty wall space above the television, and that was probably the first thing that got hung when we moved in a couple years ago. And it became a big ordeal because the studs weren't where we needed them to be. We ended up getting a different wall mount, etc., etc. So while it looks like it is actually setting on the mantle, it is not. It is hung and it's actually leaning down a little bit. And we do want to remount it and put it a little bit higher. We just haven't done that because we've also talked about getting a bigger television. And so we don't want to take the time to remount this TV to just turn around and get a new TV. But I do wish it was more centered on the space, on the wall space above the fireplace. I don't have very much space to decorate on the mantle, but I like having something up there versus nothing. And I don't like to do repeats. So I'm not really liking the peacock feathers with the pheasant feathers. I feel like there needs to be a third element in there. And the two silver plate, actually I have three of them, but champagne buckets, trophy buckets, two of them are really struggling to fit, especially with the antlers, because the antlers are wider than the bucket. So I just continue to play around with things, and then eventually we're going to settle on something, and I'm actually loving it. Okay, I went ahead and cut off some ends. I tried to save the ones that were already close to the height that I wanted. I do have some just thrift store styrofoam in there to kind of hold them together tighter so that they're not spraying so much to the sides, because I don't want it to interfere with the TV. So we'll see how it goes. So you might think you just throw feathers into a container, but you don't. There's actually some arranging to it, just like if you were doing flowers. So I pulled out the smaller, shorter ones, and then I took the other ones and did them in a loose bundle before sticking them into the styrofoam so that they spray out a little bit. And then I'm going to add in the shorter ones to the front, because like you do with decor and kind of creating a zigzag pattern, a back and forth pattern, you want to do that with the feathers or a floral arrangement as well. So I'm putting the shorter pieces in the front. They do kind of angle like to the right or to the left, so I'm trying to put them in the container accordingly. And then there are some that don't have eyes on them, so I'm trying to evenly spread those out as well. I just keep trying new things, and I'm the person who I like to sit with it for a while, so to speak, where I just want to walk around and see it multiple times before I get an epiphany on what I want to do, or before I decide if I love or hate something. It's just a lot of trial and error, but eventually it all comes together. I will point out that one of the things that I'm using as a riser are actually nut bowls. They're the ones that look kind of like a slice of wood. So depending on how whatever I'm putting on it fits, sometimes I have them turned upside down, sometimes I have them turned upright. And right here I have two stacked just to get myself more height. So it really just kind of depends on the size and shape of those on how that's going to work out. You know, I've talked about hanging a chandelier in the bedroom because literally the entire room just has the little lights on the ceiling fan. And I am terrible about turning that lamp on. And even when you turn the lamp on, it's not giving you very much light. So I've been wanting to hang this chandelier. So this chandelier not only has the candelabra part, whatever this part's called, but it also has a down light there. And I typically, where the ladder is, am going to have a little stool, the one that's at the end of the bed currently, where I put my little stuff. And so I'm wanting to hang the chandelier directly above it. So I have it sitting on the ladder, but technically it'll go over probably about 6 inches. I would have it hang just a little bit higher. So where you have this kind of like horizontal line here on the chandelier, I would have that horizontal line going just above the arch of the mirror. And then this vertical piece would go kind of in the gap from the headboard to the mirror. So visually, that is what I'm thinking about. Hubby is still like, hell no. So before I put a hole in the ceiling and commit to at least having a hole in the ceiling, because I could hang the chandelier, leave it for a month and decide I don't like it. Because I definitely am the person who I like to live with it for a while before I know if I like it or not. So there could potentially be a hole in the ceiling, but I need your opinion. Okay, I'm going to give you a little update on the ceiling fan chandelier situation. So I was going to hang the chandelier, but then when I went to find the studs, because it's a tray ceiling, they basically did like boxes along the entire wall to make the tray. And what that basically means is there's not a stud where I need there to be a stud. And so I'll show you where I could hang the hook to hang the chandelier, but I'm just a little bit hesitant, and Matt already doesn't want me to hang it, so then that makes me even more hesitant, even though I think the chandelier would look good in here and give us a ton of light. Because let me show you how much light we don't have in here. Without the light on, this is with the light on. Do you see how there's hardly any change? Light on, off, off. Not very bright. So here we are up on the ladder. So this is the edge of the tray, and there's obviously a 2x4 going around the whole tray. I could put a hook where my finger is. I did a little pencil sketch, and that would put it between the headboard and the mirror. However, the hook would be very close to the edge of the tray ceiling. Now, to me, it would make sense that this 2x4 would run all the way down to the wall. However, it doesn't. It basically stops there in the corner. And then beside that is a 2x4 that goes all the way to the wall. So I can hit the one 2x4, but that's gonna put the light over closer by the mirror than I want, instead of in between the headboard and mirror. So this is the most recent view of this space, and I've been wanting to thrift a bar cart or some little cool cabinet that I could use as a bar cart, but I just haven't found anything. So I decided, oh, a bunch of books stacked high would be pretty cool. But I have books all over the house, and I didn't really want to move all of them to one location, and I didn't want to wait until I had sourced a bunch. So I decided to take some boxes that I had other places in the house. I put a suitcase actually where they had been, and then I just start stacking. I think this will be a great place to feature some unique pieces on top of the books. Back to the mantle. I remembered I had a brass trophy, champagne bucket, whatever you want to call it, with a plant in it. So I thought I would try that. That also gives me the ability to try a trophy cup in brass, and I can just mix my metals. The plant needed trimmed something fierce, so I went ahead and cut some of it off. And while I loved it on its own, I didn't like it with anything else, at least on the same side of it. So I decided to just go ahead and put it back where I had it because I really liked it there, and I would do something else. Since I couldn't fit two trophies on the same side, in the silver plate at least, I thought I would get a plant stand, give one some height so that I did have room for two on one side. However, the plant stand is just too tall. There was too much height difference in that. I'm really liking what I've got going on the right side, so I'm mainly just trying to figure out what I'm going to do on the left. Here are some options just to change the height. Besides using books or those nut bowls, this is a lamp base that I could put under one of the trophies. It was the right size, so it wasn't slipping all over the place. And here's the side that I'm liking. So trying out, this is another, I think, lamp base, but it's kind of like a faux wood. But because it kind of mimics the little piece that I have the nest in, I'm not sure I really like it. I like that it gives height to the trophy. I also swapped out the trophies here. So we have the shiny one, we have the tarnished one, and we have the brass. It would not fit on the brass base, and so I'm gonna try another base just real quick and see if it'll work. So I wasn't sure I would like this brass bowl essentially flipped upside down as a base with the silver, but I think it almost looks like it's intentional. So I'm all about using different metals. I think it looks good together, and I honestly think using different ones kind of ties everything in. So this is what we have right now. Because I put a mirror on the right side, I wanted to do a mirror on the left. All I had was the skinny one that I stole from my bedroom. I took the round one that I had on the dining room table and another rectangular one that was in the built-ins and kind of grouped them all together so that it was more the appropriate size. Otherwise, this looks pretty much how it did the last time I showed you, and I am really happy. I only made a couple updates on this side. I added in another mirror just to keep that layered look that we had on the left side. This mirror is kind of round. It's basically a hexagon. And then I have cactus in the silver trophy. I might want to end up putting some paper filler in the bottom so that that cactus sticks up farther. And I'm going to be on the lookout for some more cactus. I'm really not sure if I do or don't like the cactus in there, but for now, that's where it is. A future video will be decorating these bookends, putting something on the kitchen table, redecorating my kitchen island, and working on this entryway because I did borrow some things that I had on it. So be sure to come back and see what I put under these cloches. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope to see you here next week.